Welcome to the Resilient Minds podcast, stories of grit, growth, and success, where we dive deep into the journey of successful leaders who've struggled and succeeded. Before the wins, before the titles, what was the mindset behind the leader? On this show, we focus on real stories behind the success, the struggles, the resilience, and the courage it takes to keep moving forward, even when times get tough. My goal is to provide you with stories of hope and transformation, showing that no matter the challenges, there is a way forward. On this show, we'll be meeting with highly successful leaders who've battled through obstacles, emerging stronger and wiser on the other side. This show is for anyone who wants to grow, evolve, and find the light at the end of the tunnel. Everyone's a leader, so together, we'll uncover what it truly means to evolve as leaders, and ultimately, as human beings. This is Resilient Minds. Hey, I'm your host, Dr. Campbell, and I'm here with Dennis, and he is going to, share with us some faith-based information and what his mission here is with his new app. So thank you for joining us here, Dennis. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, first of all, absolutely a pleasure to be here with you, Ms. Campbell. So my name is Dennis Minkah, predominantly known by friends and family as Dom Senior. Way I became a senior is because my son is literally named after me, Dennis O. Obodum Minkah Jr. So now I'm a senior, but I've carried that name Dom forever. I am a community activist, and I also deal with a lot of family issues, trauma, bonding, or communication. So I'm based out of California, Southern California, and Austin, Texas, just because of my roots. But it's a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Campbell, and I'm ready to get this thing going.
Thanks. Why don't you tell us about what you do? You're
So
coming out with an app, right? Or did you already come out with it?
Yeah, so the app is available on iOS. We did have it on Google as well, but due to some regulations and some issues with developers, that most of the developers were based out of India, and it was a lot of miscommunication. So I'm actually in the precipice of looking for sponsorship and partners that can help assist with, bringing the right developers so we can get the video portion and the picture portion to work. But right now we have posting that's available. The app is called Christian Hashtag. The app is predominantly doing pretty well. We have about 30 followers right now, and counting. The app also caters to what you already have existing in the market. Like it works well with Instagram, Snapchat, your WhatsApp, your email, you can text from the app, and you can text somebody on this platform that's patented called Share Your Truth. So you can literally write your whole thought process, like journaling. And if you want to post it with a group of people that's in your social media, or just a group of people that's in your circle, you can actually just post it with them. And, it's kind of like confidential, or if you want to get public with it, you can get public with it. We also have podcasts available on the app. We also have where we have admins from different various churches or community that can control what they're doing on their end, and they can post it on the app where people can view it and people can become a part of it, like if it's like a community gathering, or even if people are doing like events at their home or whatever, you can post it, and a neighbor from across the street who thought Wednesday nights was like a rage night, so you got like 50 cars in your driveway and they think you guys are having a rage night, but when they go on their app, they notice that you are having like a group meeting of like a men's meeting or women meeting, or just overall a meeting of people that just want to talk about the current state of the world. They can click like and reach out to you and say, hey, we would like to be a part of that because we believe the same thing that you believe. And it's just that easy without doing that door-to-door service. You could do it over the app and introduce, go meet this person in person, or you could just have a conversation online and kind of join a camaraderie of a community, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like it's trying to build community. It is faith-based, but what you told me earlier is you don't have to be a believer. You guys love everybody. You want it to be open to everybody, but it's to bring people together. That's the intention, right?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. What drove you to do this?
Oh man, it's a beautiful thing, right? I noticed that I have a son who plays football in West Virginia, right? And I noticed it's very hard for my mom to keep up with him because my mom is his grandmother, obviously, right? And she's older, so the generational gap is really, really a big thing in our society, right? So my son will post like his football games or his outings on social media. And my mom is not the most tech savvy, so once she get to it, it's like maybe 10 hours later and she's like complimented on it. And then it's like, well, that's already people have said what they had to say. So it was like, okay, well, how do we bridge that gap where you have a platform where you can post on multiple platforms, right? So he can send it to his grandmother, or she can just like it on a different platform and say, "Hey, I love it." And then he can call his grandmother, or she can say, "Hey, look, keep doing your thing." So that whole power of dynamic of him of just being a a active figure in children's life type of thing. So that kind of brought me to just kind of bringing that community together from the elderlies to the Gen Zs, if you want to call it that. And
Right.
so that kind of prompt me to it. And then also when I did that, that was more for the world. But then I met a gentleman who him and I was kind of chatting a little bit, and he was like, "Look, I see what you're trying to do, and that's a great idea. But getting to know you in the next 10 minutes, I know you're a very spiritual person. So why don't we just make the app to cater to you?" And the gentleman that I'm talking about, I mean, you wouldn't even, if you met him, it's just this scruffy cowboy looking guy. But I moved next door to him, and his wife was a believer,
Mm.
and and he was still teeter tattering, right? If he's, because he grew up in West Texas, and a whole lot of racism
Yeah.
back then from like his father was not the best example. Let's just say it like that, right? But within his generation, his son is actually the one that will correct him if he says something inappropriate. So his son has all different color groups of friends, right? His best friends are
Mhm.
Asian, Mexican, black,
Right.
so in so many ways, when he says something, his son will be the one to correct him and say that was borderline racist. So when him and I sat down to talk a little bit, and I told him about this idea, and he realized, that I was a faith believer, but a thinker as well. He said, "No, let's not go with the secular way. Let's try to change the world a different way." So the minute he said that, I kind of looked at him and said, "Dude, like I don't know if you know what you're talking about." I was basically just a skeptic, right? I don't know what you're talking about. Then getting to know him a little bit, which is the power of conversation, right at that moment, not judging, but having a conversation. Come to find out that this man worked at Microsoft for 21 years and helped
Mhm.
Microsoft develop most of their video gaming sector. So at
Nice.
that moment, yeah, at that moment, judgment, passive aggression, everything went out the window. It's like you need to have a conversation with people before you judge because it don't matter what they look like. You never know what they have under their sleeve. So we proceeded to build this app. He told me give it to him for a couple of days, which I did, and he came out with the mock plan, and then we just moved. This was 2.5 years ago, and we just moved forward with that, and that's when Christian hashtag was born.
Very nice. I love that. So I'd love to know, Dennis, what influenced you to be so, do you feel like you're more spiritual or religious, or it doesn't matter, you love God? That's what I say. Like when people ask me what religion I am, I'm like, I love God, right? Like, but what do you, what would you classify, and where did you get such a passion for it?
I believe it comes from just my upbringing. My mother was, in the choir when she was a young girl. So, I always say you inherit what's actually in your past, right? It's just an inheritance that you might not know. But on top of that too, it's just my thought process has always leaned towards the I love God mentality that you spoke of, right? Because when I look around at all the things that we see in the world, I know men didn't create this stuff. I just know that for sure. Like, and one of the key components that I always have a conversation with certain friends about is who are atheists, especially in California. I have a lot of atheist friends who say, they don't believe in God. And I always come back with a rebuttal and saying, you can show me the first man who walked across the Sahara Desert from Africa all the way to America and planted all these trees that we love so much. And I'll say you won the argument. And they could never, they could never, you know, think about it like that. They're like, well, yeah, you're actually right. The moon and the stars, who put that up there?
Yeah.
So it's just having conversations that make sense where most of the time people just say, you know what, I never thought about it like that, but I'll get back to you, right? So the argument is never over. It's just a conversation at that point where we're all just trying to find a turning point.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when you're at a turning point and you don't know what you're doing or who you're talking to, in the case of your story, like there's going to be some kind of synchronicity that happens, and our job is to pay attention and kind of like work as a co-creator of whether it be God or the universe or science, manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. The point is it's happening, right? And so
Yes,
if you can pay attention and be open-minded and non-judgmental, then you can receive what's being given to you because you have this problem you're trying to solve. If you think, oh, no one's ever going to help me, then the guy from Microsoft who's trying to have a conversation with you to help you with your app, you'll never be able to fulfill that journey. You
right,
got the solution, but you walked right past it.
right past it, right. It's that going between. It's that miracle that we miss because of our own arrogance or our
Mm.
own judgmental state. Like we think we can do everything on our own, and we wasn't put on this earth to do nothing on our own.
Right.
I feel like we have outlets that if we plug into, things work out for the better of the universe, or through God's perspective. So yeah, you hit it right on, head on.
I love those words you said, through God's perspective, because we're human, right? And I call it the human experience because it's very, very small in comparison to the wider perspective. And if we understood God's perspective, I don't think we would be complaining or even see like something like traumas or hardship the way that we do. We would
Mm,
see it, in my opinion, more clearly, but who knows what that is? Like
absolutely.
only God knows that, or the universe knows that, or your divine blueprint, like again, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's the perspective. And so we can choose to try to see it from God's perspective and allow God to show us what
Hmm.
that perspective is. Have you ever had anything really, really bad happen in your life?
Yes, absolutely. I've had a turning point where
Mhm.
I was very lost, right? So I was married about 10 years ago. My wife and I lived in California, and I was working for a project management company as the leader in the community, and then also I was doing business development on the side. Well, the project management property that I was working at, we had the firefighters come in to do their monthly exam, but
Right.
the closet that they needed to go into, it just seems like people were just putting water heaters and ovens that's already not working, old ovens in there as storage space. So the firefighter company was like, hey, they couldn't open the door, and they said, hey, look, if we come back in 2 hours and this is not resolved, we're going to charge you guys a hefty fine of $15,000, which by California law, that's actually what they do.
Yeah.
So me being in the office guy and things of that nature, we had a groundskeeper who was at least his name was Felipe. He's from Mexico, and he's almost like 56 at the time. So, he couldn't move this stuff by himself. So again, my ability to try to help people is what I do. So I just decided to go help. So I took off my jacket, put on my dirty clothes. Let's get this done. I put a water heater on a dolly. I was moving it backwards. The heel of my shoe kind of tripped over the threshold. I fell back, and the ability of falling back, my reflex was to push the water heater up so it won't fall on me, but it just rocked back and forth and landed right on me. Shattered my backbone, my pelvis bone. Immediately was rushed to the ER, where they told me I couldn't help out with anything over 10 pounds.
Mm.
Um, at the time, my wife and I had two children who were toddlers, because they're a year apart. And then upon me getting hurt, I found out that she was pregnant again. So at that point, everything just switched. The perspective switched where I was like, well, the doctor said I can't pick up anything over 10 pounds, so I can't really help the children. But I can, watch them. I brought in my mother to help. There was a lot of complication there where I don't know what the disagreement was, because she wanted to do everything herself, and she didn't really need help. So at that point, I didn't know what else to do, but just ask her, just let me heal while she go back home to her family, and let her family help and support the kids. And then within 6 months after I heal, we can reconvene. But make a long story short, that didn't work out the way I thought it would. Being a praying man, and being a praying woman at the time, she was. So she went back home, perspective shift. I was basically told that my decision made an abandonment statement, which was pretty hard on me because I'm not that type of guy. I've never been that type of man. Family is really important to me. So it was a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth kind of situation.
So
Even
you felt like you abandoned her?
correct.
Oh, wow.
But I feel like that was coming from family members because they really had their own agendas. Um, and so within the trying to get well 3 months session, it's trying to stay in touch, trying to tell her, communicate like what's going on. I found out it was very hard to also get her on the phone. At times she's always running errands or doing something that concerned the children, which I was like, okay, you're busy, but you got to make room. And between that, I was able to heal relatively quickly because I was going to rehab every day. And then a position came up in Austin, Texas, where they were looking for somebody to do cybersecurity for the Veteran Affairs. And my application was picked up. So they said they would pay for my trip to come to Texas, um, check out the area, come to the building, go for orientation and whatever like that. And so I decided to do just that. I gave up my place, drove down here to Texas with my mother, who was 60 at the time. So when I got here, um, unbeknownst, the day I was supposed to start, the VA called me and said that the position has been filled, and they
Oh,
chose a different candidate.
oh my God.
Right. So at that point, I was I was confused. I tried to fight
Yeah.
it. I tried to ask them, but they were very, straight to the point. That's the government, straight to the point. We
Right.
apologize. We'll pay for your hotel for another week, but then after that, you're on your own. So at this point, I'm like, wow. So now I'm raffling through my savings, but then it's like, okay, wait a minute. I still have responsibility. I got to take care of my children. I got to take care of this. So, yeah. So the time came where I was homeless. I slept in my car. as I told my mother to to go back to my house, and I slept in my car for a few months, and then uh, prayer, just trying to stay in faith. I wasn't even angry, I was, no matter how it made it look, being homeless, I was still being fed without having to beg, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was still being fed without having to beg anything or be out on the streets with a street sign.
I have a question
So,
with that.
yeah.
Was it weird? And this is me not knowing anything about this story before you say this, okay? Was it weird things that just kept happening that you ended up having what you needed?
Yes, yes. It was the unexpected things. I get it. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, so we tend to live our lives mapping things out, thinking, oh, we got this, we got that. But absolutely, to your words, it was weird in a way where I didn't even, it's like one day I just happened to walk into a Holiday Inn, and I just walked in there just to see if they had a room available. And the receptionist was like, we don't have any room available, but we do have breakfast. You hungry? That type of thing, where I was just like, sure.
Yeah, I'll
You,
take
you see what I'm
it.
Sure. So I was able to eat like that, and then able to maintain. So it was the final straw, and this happened for 40 days. And I know people may be skeptic when I'm saying this, but this is true. That I lived my life like this. It happened for 40 days and 40 nights. So I got a call in the middle of it getting into the 40 days. It was like 20 something. I get a call out of nowhere from a company that's saying, hey, we just ran across your resume and we think you'd be a great fit. I said, oh, okay. How did you get my resume? And it was like, I don't know. It just came across our desk on Indeed or something like that. And we would love for you to come for an interview on Thursday. This was like a Monday. So I'm like, oh man. So I was able to scrounge up my clothes. I went into a church at 4 Points, which is in the Lake Travis area. I went into a church where I went to go pray, and thank God for just everything that's going on, because I don't know what's really going on. Um, and then at the end of the sermon, the pastor, his name is Will. He told me, "Hey, anybody that want to come up front and have a prayer person pray for them, you're
Yeah.
more than welcome." Um, I know for men, typically we gravitate to women because women have more sympathetic than other men.
Mhm.
But for some reason, my light guided me to this other guy. His name was Blake Erskine. He's one of the top attorneys in Austin. I didn't know this guy from a shoe in a box, but I gravitate to this guy because he was tall, just like me, and he just, lean. And so I go over there, and I'm just gonna tell him, what's going on with me. I have friends from California that's at South by Southwest, but their hotel rooms are packed, and I don't want to stay there because I know if I go back to them, I'm going to go down the wrong path.
Right.
So I'm telling him this stuff, and he's like, "So where are you sleeping right now?" That was his first question to me, and I said, "I'm sleeping in my car."
Mm.
And I just started bawling, and then he just looks at me and he says, "You know what? You're not going to sleep in your car today." And I was like, well, "What do you mean?" I'm thinking like he's going to pay for a hotel room. He said, "No, follow you can follow me. I'll give you my address, and I'll also give you my phone number, and in that way you can give it to whoever that you like, so that way you know you're safe." And I was like, okay. So I followed him, and literally he lived right across around the corner from the church, and we pull up in this long driveway, and then that gates open up, and then it's like this super big old mansion, right? And he's like, "Yeah, so I have a pool house, and that's yours until you're ready to get back on your feet." And I was just in awe, like all of that, like you said, super weird. Like, what made me walk into this church? What made me want to talk to this guy?
Yeah.
So I spoke with him. He gave me room and board. Um, I stayed there till Thursday because I had the interview on Thursday. This was Monday, so I ironed my clothes, went to the interview, and when I got to the interview, it was 20 candidates. Um, between me and the other candidates, they was only going to pick three people.
Mm.
Went in there, interviewed with three people, three managers, and then they was like, okay, cool, we'll let you know if you made the final round. So then Thursday's interview went, I guess, relatively well. So they gave me a call back the following week. I came back, and then I seen this one guy that I was talking to. He's a military guy, and
Mm.
he was telling me all this story about how he feels like he's gonna get the job because he's a military man. So I said, okay, no problem. He was very arrogant, very arrogant. So I said, okay, no problem. So I just sat there. So we went through the interview process between the seven people they chose. The
Mhm.
seven people go in there, people coming out left to right, coming out faster left to right. So now it's up to me and this guy. We go in there. They keep us in there for at least 20, 30 minutes. We do our interview. We leave.
I don't know.
And the following week,
Hold on, sir.
sorry, that's Google, my Google stop. So
My
then,
Alexa interrupts me all the time. It's okay.
so then, it turns out that me and him end up being the final candidates. So we got the job. And then once we get in there, my role was relatively just supporting the entire floor. Now this is where my perspective come in from where I am now this day. My role is a is a person that helps the entire floor of 350 people in the federal sector find parts that they need. If they send me an email and say, "Hey, I'm looking for XYZ component to match this one," I have to help them find that exact component. So you could tell my workload already off the bat was busy. This gentleman came in and his workload was slow. He just dealing with military parts that I guess he already knows. So all I kept hearing from him was complaining, 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 complaining.
Mhm.
While I'm out here doing my work,
Right.
just praying and listening to gospel music and listening, just minding my business. And it's my perspective to this day where I said we all need one another was that the entire floor of
Mm.
300 federal workers gravitated to me faster than they did with this guy, only because of communication skills, only because of being able to smile through adversity.
Mm.
I wasn't a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Nobody knew my story. So as an intern, after a year, the director said, you know what, we really like you. We want to bring you on board. Everybody love you. They brought me on board. And I feel like that's when I started really getting to know other people and then started to share stories with them,
Yeah.
only because they were going through the similar situation.
Yeah.
And they was like, are you kidding me? I would have never thought that. I thought you would have like $1 billion in the bank. You come in here smiling, jolly, happy. And I was like, you don't always look like what you're going through. You don't always share what you're going through,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
So yeah, that was a pivotal point for me. So that's to answer your question. That I feel like this was kind of embedded in me, because when I talked to my mom about my journey and being born in Germany, I was born in Germany. I was the only baby that the German nurses wanted to take home. Like she's like, I had to fight for you. Like I had to tell them that that's my baby because they wanted to like take you. And back then, I was born in '82. Back then, German nurses were doing that. They were able to take children from the mothers and then,
Like
you
just
know,
steal them? Like
yeah,
kidnap?
like
Oh.
steal them. They didn't even call it kidnap back then because if you're there and you're a soldier or
Mm.
you're working on green card and papers,
Oh,
you
wow.
know, they have the right to take what they want. So yeah, that was in a nutshell some of the things that brought perspective to what life could be and what life actually looks like if you're looking at it from the brighter side instead of the somber side.
Perspective. And to me, it sounds like the thing that got you through was faith and
Yeah,
honestly, gratitude
absolutely.
through adversity. That's amazing. I really appreciate your time today, and I appreciate your vulnerability. That's such a beautiful story, and I think a lot of people really needed to hear it.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. Your time and your focus are your most valuable currencies, so thank you for giving that to us today. Our guest contact information will be in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But please, if you know someone who's struggling, stop right now and send this video to them. The struggle behind growth and success is real, and they need the support to make it, because the strongest minds are the ones that healed. So don't forget, lead louder, feel deeper, and stay resilient. Until next time, this is your host, Dr. Campbell, on the Resilient Minds Podcast.